That's going to be it, Rope.
No,
wait, hold on. Stop. No, wait, stay back on the line, both of you. And do me a favor, take 2 steps to
and this
your,
is what we
2
saw
steps to your
at
right
the
a little
end
bit.
of the prejudging, and they're doing it again. They're separating them. Phil looks like he's chomping at the bit to get these comparisons in. Now we're going to find out. This is clearly for the Mr. Olympia.
Quarter turn to the right.
Absolutely. Both guys look supremely confident. They know they're on. They both want it bad.
I think as a judge, when you look at these quarter turn compulsories, you would have to give
quarter turn to the right.
This aspect of the compulsory round to Phil Heath. Standing semi-relaxed, I think he's got advantages over
quarter
Kai
turn to the right.
in each of these positions. It's closest from the back.
Okay, now, do me a favor.
When you
Take a
see
step
them
apart
here,
from each other.
You
There's
see a
plenty of
significant
room.
difference in their physiques when they pose. Could
Got
be
to
another
stay on the
story.
same side. Come on, a little bit of room between you. Come on, Phil, take one. Yep, thank you. Okay, now front.
Absolutely, and we saw
Front,
a little bit of
double
gamesmanship
bicep.
from Phil and Kai at the prejudging, and that was fun. You know, last year.
Here we
saw
go,
the same
folks.
thing
Who's
from
winning the pose?
Jay
Come on now,
and
front
Phil,
double bicep.
and that's always good for bodybuilding.
And relax. Relax.
I do think that front double bi
Front,
is one pose
flat
where Phil
spread.
definitively wins. It's just not a good pose for Kai. He has short biceps, and his stomach distends a little bit.
Okay, you can't make
Phil
this
tends
difficult
to
for me.
dominate
It's my
in that
first
pose.
time calling.
Yeah, the other
this
thing that's
Olympic.
interesting is
Front,
that
flat
Kai looks
spread.
so conditioned by himself. From the front, standing next to Phil, Phil looks like the more conditioned
both front,
athlete
flat
to me.
spread.
From the back, Kai is super conditioned, but when you look at the striations and the
And
separation
relax.
that Phil
Either
has,
side for
you can
side
see,
chest.
in my opinion, from the front, he looks to be more conditioned.
And relax.
And
Relax,
anytime he
face the
flexes
rear.
those arms like that, there's just not anybody in the world who can hit that side pose with his biceps and triceps
Back
and look
double
like
bicep.
that. Now, from the back, this is where Kai has a chance to make up
If
some
Olympias
ground.
are one
But
from the
Phil is
back,
no
who's
slouch
winning
back
this
here
one?
either. And, you know, Kai has some poses where he's overwhelming, but Phil looks good in every pose.
Yeah, I think the side chest is a shot that Kai does well against Phil in. From the rear double bi, again, very close. I mean, you know, we're splitting hairs between
And
apples and
relax.
oranges. I think
Back,
Phil's
flat
back
spread.
looks more dense down the middle. Kai's looks more separated and striated. But I've said all along, I think the rear double bi and the side chest are the 2 shots where Kai has a slight, and I mean slight, advantage over Phil. In the rest of the poses, I give Phil a slight and in some cases more significant advantage
And
over
relax.
Kai,
Either
like this rear
side
lat spread
for
where you
side
see the
tricep.
density of Heath's back, which was always thought to be the weak point that would hold him back, and he's been so diligent in turning it into a strong point.
Yeah, it's interesting that rear lat spread. Kai has
And
huge
relax.
sweeping lats,
Face
but not
forward.
quite that detail in the middle that Phil does.
Okay, face forward, sorry. Okay, now.
And again, both guys obviously
overhead
supremely
abdominals.
confident in what they're bringing to the stage tonight, and that just makes it more fun for everybody else.
And relax. Your favorite, most muscular.
The big crowd pleaser coming up, and I think this is a shot where it's hard for anybody to hang with Phil.
Yeah, you look at Phil Heath in these poses, it's the
And
roundness.
relax.
You look at him
And
there,
relax.
and you know, the interesting
Okay, I
thing,
don't
this is
think
why
you're
we
gonna
say
get
you
two
have to
better
put 2 guys next to one
competitors.
another,
Thank you
because
very much. You
when
can
I
take a
saw
step
Kai
back to
do his
either
free
side.
posing routine and he was by himself, I would have said, wow, he's going to be a lot closer to Phil. Once they got next to one another, I still think Phil wins this contest and walks away with his 2nd Olympia, and I think he did it pretty convincingly in most of those comparisons.
Sean Roden.
Yeah.
As much time working on their mandatories and holding their mandatories as they do doing cardio,
Making you work
because they
tonight.
know how tough it is up there, and it also tends to harden up the physique.
Okay.
And lo and behold,
Front double
aren't
bicep.
these two getting familiar with one another? Phil Heath and Kai Green back center stage, and Chris will find out if Kai has trouble getting through these comparisons.
I mean, if Chris is right about Phil's strategy, this is going to play right into it. And I mean, when Kai came out for his routine, I thought he had maybe gained some ground on Phil, but as they went through the comparisons, I thought Phil actually was starting to separate himself a little bit. He looked very good in the back poses.
Chris, if you were going to pick one area that you think Phil is most dominant over Kai and one where Kai is beating Phil, what comes to mind?
And relax.
What comes to mind straight away is in the lat pose. The real lat pose, Heath definitely has a lot of that thickness still going on there, where the width does flare out with Kai, and it seems to lose it. But you can see he's really full throughout the chest now, Phil, and you know that most muscular right there. It just knocks it out the park. But you know, with Kai, yes, he did flatten out a little bit. He is tired, but he's so composed. He's a great showman up there and a true professional.
I think the more they pose, the more Phil becomes more obvious. I mean, the thing that jumps out at me is that roundness and fullness, and Kai does look like physique-wise, to your point backstage, where physically he's faded a little bit, and I think it's made the discrepancy that much more between them.
Phil Heath.
And as we discussed earlier, Larry, Phil just a little too much for Kai and takes the next step down the road to building that legacy we talked about.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. I mean, look, taking nothing away from Kai Green, this is the best he's looked in years. Phil Heath is just a beast. Genetically, the roundness, the fullness, his conditioning was spot on. He was bigger than last year with the same conditioning, and now wins his second Mr. Olympia.
Absolutely, and perhaps a bit of foreshadowing, falling to the floor as Ronnie Coleman did all those years when he won the Mr. Olympias.
And this now sets up just an amazing 2013 Olympia. Phil Heath. Kai Green.
So much, and it was a hell of a fast year, too. And, you know, I definitely had to lean on him for a lot of my strength, especially tonight, because I can't even, I just have to give props where props are due. These guys, especially Kai Green, gave me all that I could handle tonight. And these guys, throughout the year, I knew that they were all gunning for me. And, you know, they pushed me to another level, and I know I pushed them to another level.